Good night. Welcome back with me, Desrianto at Prayogi.
And me, Widya Wahyuni at Business Today, a talk show TV program which provides you information about the business world.
Well, tonight we would like to discuss about an investment in stock.
So, as we know, the economic situation in Indonesia has been decreased. It's much more probably caused by the political issue in Indonesia.
Yes, that's right, Widya. As we know, economic Indonesia situation is in uncertain condition. So the investor being uncomfort condition regarding to their investment. So there is so many sales act that cause the decreasing of Jakarta Stock Exchange approximately up to 4%.
Yeah, and today we would like to discuss about the investment in stock. And we already invite our expert. The first one is
Prof. Saat Prihartono. Good night, Prof.
Good night.
Prof. Saat is a professor of business theory at IPMI International Business School.
And the second one is Mr. Ardhesa. Good night.
Good night.
Mr. Ardhesa is a practical business investor.
Okay, before we are continue about our discussion with our expert, let's take a look about economic Indonesia situation today.
At first glance, the fanfare ahead of Indonesia's general elections is festive, a celebration of democracy, but it comes at a hefty price. Millions of dollars are spent on extravagant events to attract voters. But as political parties have minimal budgets, they're often forced to turn to corrupt ways to raise funds. Membership fees, state budget, and public donations are simply not enough to fill parties' coffers. Leaders have had the power to turn parliament into a money-making machine, as they are able to determine how much funds can be allocated to which projects and in which province. Legislators have become budget brokers with contractors and can request kickbacks in return for increasing a state institution's budget. Indonesia Corruption Watch says it's seen a rise in corruption within parliament in the past 5 years. In 2013, 62 legislators in the House of Representatives and the Regional Legislative Council were suspected of graft, up from 38 legislators the previous year. The Parliament's Ethics Council says it's taking steps to reduce corruption among legislators.
Okay, to start it up, Mr. Ardhesa, what do you think about the investment itself?
Okay. I feel investing as a method of purchasing asset to gain profit in the form of the reasonably predictable income, like dividend, interest or rental, and appreciation over the long term.
Okay, Mr. Ardhesa talked about the long-term investment, but as we know, some people want to invest their money in the short run. So, Pak Saat, maybe could you give us some advice in a short run investment?
Yes, for sure, we can use Random Walk theory for short-term investment. We use the fundamental analysis and also the technical analysis to help us for transaction in stock market.
Okay, Prof. Saat, you mentioned about the technical analysis and fundamental analysis. What is the meaning of technical analysis and fundamental analysis? What do you think?
In a simple way, fundamental analysis based on global, domestic, and also economical analysis, industry, and also the company itself. While the technical analysis based on repeated pattern of the transaction and also the price movement.
Okay, I believe Pak Ardhesa can tell us more about the technical analysis because he is a practical investment. What do you think, Mr. Ardhesa?
Okay, in my opinion, yes, technical analysis is much more easier and practical to use in today in investing world. We can use chart to analyze the stock in market.
So you mentioned about the chart, but for us, the beginner, could you please give us some advice or what can those charts tell us?
The first principle of technical analysis is that all of the info about the earning and the future performance of a company is automatically reflected in the company past market price on the chart. Yes. The second principle is that the price tend to move in trends. So a stock that is rising tend to keep on rising whereas stock at rest tend to remain at rest.
I can add on what Pak Ardhesa said, as John McGee wrote in the Bible of charting. Technical analysis of stock trends is price move in trends, and trends tend to continue until something happen to change the supply-demand balance. So I can say that in this point, Pak Ardhesa believes that the market is only 10% logical and 90% psychological.
Could you explain more about this?
Traditionally, the pros in the investment community have used one of two approaches to asset valuation: the firm foundation theory or the castle in the air theory.
Okay, I think I remember something that's from the Machiavelli's book, I think. So, in your opinion, how or when we can implement those theory in what kind of condition we can implement those theory?
First, the firm foundation theory. Each investment instrument, be it a common stock or a piece of real estate, has a firm anchor of something called intrinsic value, which can be determined by a careful analysis of present condition.
Okay, are you sure you prefer firm foundation theory to investment? Because I think we need to invest not only based on the current condition, but also we need to consider about the prospect in the next.
That's why the Machiavelli's book told us about the castle in the air theory. It concentrates on physical value. John Maynard Keynes argued that professional investors prefer to devote their energies not to estimating intrinsic value, but rather to analyzing how the crowd of investors is likely to behave in the future, and how during the period of optimism they tend to build their hopes into castle in the air.
So you mentioned about the crowd, but if everyone investing their money based on the crowd, it will rise up the value of the stock itself, and in certain point it can suddenly plus. It will be
Bankrupt or go down maybe. What do you think?
That's why we have to combine both of the theory,
Okay.
and we have to look at the certain condition.
So I'm so excited about the combination theory between castle in the air theory and firm foundation theory. What is the role of combination of both?
By only companies that are expected to have above average earning growth for 5 or more years never pay for a stock than its firm foundation of value, and look for stock whose stories of anticipated growth are the kind of which investors can build castle in the air.
Okay, so that's all about the investing, but as we know, if we invest something, we have to calculate the risk itself, and we know that we cannot eliminate the risk, we can only reduce or minimize the risk. So could you explain more about the risk itself in investing?
Minimize.
Yeah.
As my experience, by diversifying your stock in portfolio,
Okay.
you can reduce the amount of risk and still earn a good return. Diversification can be attained as long as there is some lack of parallel in the fortune of the individual companies. Yeah. But the rub will not help you diversification if your company's stock price move in tandem. Okay.
Okay, Prof. Saat and Ardhesa, I think time is up for this session. Although from our discussion today, we can summarize some point. First, technical analysis is the method of predicting the appropriate time to buy or sell a stock. By those believing in the castle in the air view of stock pricing, and fundamental analysis is the technique of applying the tenet of the firm foundation theory to the selecting of individual stock.
So, although the market itself may not be rational in the short run, but it always over the long haul. plus the fact that no one or no technique can predict consistently about the future market, and the confirmation of random walk approach. So that's it for today.
Thank you, Mr. Ardhesa and Prof. Saat for
You're
our
welcome.
discussion. So great discussion about investment technical analysis and fundamental analysis. And thank you for watching Business Today, and see you next week. Thank you.
Thank you.